Shut up.
Steam. You pour water in
You
the
know what?
box.
It's okay. As long as I feel like I'm in the Bahamas, I'm good.
Did you always hear this?
Huh?
Do you always hear this?
No, that's just for the winter.
Oh, that's
Isn't it nice talking about?
stand up there. Just like Bora Bora. Yeah, right.
David, can I have some of these chairs?
Hey, what?
You can sit in the I have to log into work, so I don't want to be obvious.
Anyways, I want you to see me, I'll see if you want your phone.
You guys want a copy of the second draft?
Sure.
You're welcome.
Here.
Oh, okay, these are not public or crossed off? Okay, I did not bring anything today, so. Will you forward that to me? See, I layered, because I thought it was gonna be cold in here today. It was cold last night when you were. Yup. Did you tell him it's a giraffe?
Yeah, you got it.
Now you know. I'm a giraffe.
Morning, Jim.
Good morning, guys.
This was different than the one we had last week.
Wednesday.
What's the first sign?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm gonna come out there, I'm trying to get a meeting on this.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a big difference.
Well, we cut up an entire page, remember? Are they ordering pizza this time?
I'm not sure if you're there long, are we?
It's not gonna be up to me.
Yeah, I know. Our votes don't matter, I get it.
Is Mary here, you know?
Oh, she's in the office, so I'm assuming she's gonna come.
I know that was the big thing that they wanted to do. What's that?
Good, how are you?
You what? Oh, yeah.
Morning, Bob.
Hey, Dan.
Suppose I gotta start working on it.
This is no good.
I would keep it if you could send me notes on it. All right, I lowered it to 70, okay?
What was it at?
72. Didn't it feel good?
Felt like a rose fire, growing roses.
You were making fun of me.
It's too warm.
I really like to pretend I'm in Bora Bora. I want to be.
Never been there.
I'm going this year. Bora Bora. Is it? Huh? No. It's in the Maldives.
Tired. On a Monday morning, you should be relaxed.
Oh.
You want to have my company for a weekend? A little snip.
Trained or untrained?
He trains me very well.
He trained him really well. I would
What kind of a dog is it?
It's
I would think
Cocker,
so.
or a border collie and a terrier,
Okay.
and it's more terror.
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 Oh my God, this dog is so funny. He's a pain in the butt, but he's so cute.
Present.
Does his career, but it's sometimes. Yeah.
Grandmother's birthdays.
The marriage, the
My first
oh, like, don't have kids right behind each other.
What
I just,
what kind of mistake are you trying to make?
Oh,
yeah, which is a good thing, you know, it's a good way.
God, I told my daughter
Doing that
yesterday,
stuff.
I had a party at her house. I told my daughter, I said, God, can you believe it's 29 years I can't remember it like it was yesterday. We were on our way to home improvement shop. And they called us, took the car around.
It takes me 8 minutes to get from my house to my sister's house, and my dad lives like 5 minutes.
Her daughter was 3 years old.
It's probably though, he's done
What time you won't know that, man?
well, at least they're the same cleaning
One
supplies.
great granddaughter and one great grandson.
Especially when it goes back and forth, you know. But you didn't, so you see what you're making.
They're boring.
Yeah.
About 1 minute, we'll start.
You give me 5, I just got it.
Oh, somebody just got it?
Stephen,
Steve
Mike
just
is
got it.
starting.
Oh, okay, we'll give him a couple minutes. That was a minute for this.
Yeah.
Can you get it? I'm sure it'll come out. I don't have it. I sent Dan a copy.
Pardon me?
I sent Dan a copy.
They're comfortable, you want to look at?
Here, Steve. Mike. Steve.
Morning.
Morning, Mike. Mike. Oh.
That was quick.
We're just waiting for some copies of some minutes for coming, then we'll get started.
too close to call. Yeah, I know. No. Be safe.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to, especially with
Yes. I looked away and I said, that was a good choice. Thank you. I got the sign.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Call me in order. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Okay, first order of business, and I'll give you a second if you haven't had a chance to look at the minutes from our previous meeting here. Okay. Does anybody have any corrections to our last budget workshop minutes here?
Yeah,
Okay.
it involves the public comment that's attributed to John Mchenry.
Okay.
These are all paraphrases. These aren't the actual words that he used. And they're not good paraphrases. What was actually threatened was that the electors were going to go around the board.
That's not what was said. He did not say that.
Okay, then let's use the actual quotes.
Okay, can we change?
No,
No, it's up to the clerk.
no, I'm not changing it. Minutes are not word for word, you know that. All you're doing is trying to make a big deal out of nothing.
I don't like your editing.
I don't like your attitude.
Well,
Okay, the clerk is in charge of the minutes, so let's have a,
actually, the clerk is not in charge of the minutes. If the board does not vote for them,
I'm sorry.
then they're revised.
Okay.
Otherwise, why do we even need to vote on it?
Well, then I think we need a vote.
Let's have a vote. I motion we accept the minutes as presented. Do I have a second?
And I have a counter motion. That if you're gonna do it like that, have his exact quotation put in the minutes. You don't have any problem with that, right?
That's what I said.
That is not the exact quote.
Close enough for me.
Okay.
What do you want to add to it?
The exact quotation. And
Minutes
there's an evidentiary basis for that down the line.
Was a threat. No, I mean, a threat. There was a threat there.
Mr. Milton, can you advise us to where we should go on this?
It's the board's prerogative.
Well, I had first and a second, didn't I? For the-
Just the first, no
no
second.
second, okay. Is there a second?
If it fails to have a second, the motion fails.
Okay, so we'll go back to,
What is the objection to putting in the exact words? I don't understand why.
minutes are never supposed to be exact quotations. They're supposed to be a paraphrase of what not.
Okay, so
Now, I totally dispute that.
You
I
can
disagree too, because if it's a non-important issue,
Okay.
that'd be no problem, but the board has found reason to object to it.
Can we go, Mr. Clerk, it's up, I guess we'll have to go back and put the exact words in for Mr. Mchenry. We can find those, I'm sure. So can we make a motion to change these, or we could just, we'll just table until next meeting, how's that? I make a motion to table these till next meeting, and then we'll do.
Second?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Joe. We left out at park facilities at cell phones, I believe, which is on page 10. I believe it's page 10, yes. About near the bottom, about the middle near the bottom, on page 10. Oh, we're at travel? Okay, I'm sorry, we're at travel, she said.
Because, yeah, the uniforms are correct.
We'll change.
Yeah, they had already asked for that change.
Okay, so then we're at travel and mileage. Yeah. Yeah, if you have any questions, you can bring them up as I go. Equipment rental, we never know what might happen here, so. IGA fuel, that is for the parks vehicles. Going down further, rental security. That's that line item that we told you that washes each other. When someone rents the hall, they have to pay, if they're having alcohol, they have to pay for, I believe it's $200 for security. And that's just to make sure everything goes okay here. And then, so it gets washed, is what I'm saying.
And that was rental security?
Yeah.
Rental security, we added that.
Shows on the revenue page too.
Yeah, we added that category.
Well, then what happens to that money every year? It gets tossed back into the general?
No, it should wash each other, Steve, it's on the revenue page now.
It's the exact same dollars.
Which is page?
That'd be the second page, I believe. Page 3. You see security rental just above senior program? It does not change in yellow because it's blue.
Yeah, it's off to the right here.
I added that in. There is the exact same amount. So whatever we take in gets spent out. There will never be a leftover in that.
There cannot be.
There cannot be a leftover in that.
That's how our accountant's told us to do it, put it in revenue and then it comes back out on the other page.
Well, is this for like outside policemen or something?
No, this is for security, in-house security.
In-house
We charge
security.
$200 if they have alcohol.
It's just to make sure they get out on time and there's no problems.
That's a fixed expense.
It's a fixed expense. They pay $200 or they don't rent the house. I mean, for
We
that.
never split it out before. It all fell under
Yeah.
town hall rental. Now we have
We're
to split
splitting
it
it out.
out.
Okay?
Well, then why does it show up as a line item at all? For,
Because it has
as an
to.
expense?
Because our accountants
has
told us
to.
it has to.
Well, why isn't the fund just added to as the people pay? What,
It will,
why is this as an expense if there isn't an expense?
because
Because we
No,
have to
I'm
show
not,
it.
I'm not criticizing.
No,
you.
no, we
Just
have
trying
to show it as it's part of the accounting program. It needs to be shown that the money was taken in and the money was taken out.
so what will happen,
We
Steve?
can
Well,
no longer have a net reimbursement line item like we used to.
Debbie, so what you're saying is typically you would get the money, you'd have a zeroed out balance, you'd get the money, and
You
then
put it
you'd have
in
the
there.
expense, and then it'd be zeroed out. And now you're
Correct.
saying
We're not allowed to
you
have
get
a
the
net.
$200, now you're showing that as a revenue, and then you pay that out as an expense, and then you pay that out as an expense. So then
Correct.
you've got the revenue for 200 in, 200 out on the expense.
And it will show
We
up.
cannot
When the
do-
accounting starts, Steve, for the year, it will show up. It's $200 coming in for revenue, $200 going out for security.
According to the accountant, we can no longer do a net reimbursement line item where you wouldn't show it as revenue and expense, where it zeroes out. You have to separate them out.
Well, when you say washout, please explain it to me, what you mean.
In other
by-
words, what I mean is $2,000 will come in from the renters, right?
Yeah,
$2,000 will be paid out to security. There's no expense for the township.
right, when you say paid out to security,
Paid out to,
that's really just paid to the township. There's no third-party vendors we're paying, right?
One of the guys come in,
we one of the parks,
usually Matt or Jack come in and, for security.
we just pay that
Right.
for security.
It's in-house security.
In-house security. It would cost more if we went outside.
We used
We
to
used to
use
have,
You used to have
the
the
county
sheriff.
sheriffs, and that was 300 when we had the county
No,
sheriff.
I understand you save money on it,
yeah,
but I'm just trying to figure out who are we actually paying out? So it's like overtime for you guys.
No,
No,
It's
it's
not
not
overtime. It's a
overtime.
straight-
It's a flat
straight
rate.
Flat rate.
it's a straight flat rate. They choose to do it or choose not to.
Okay,
We don't make
They're
them.
not required to.
They're not required to, so it's a volunteer basis if they want to do it.
So when you go in before the thing starts, and then you go in afterwards and if
no, you
there's
stay
any-
the whole time.
Oh, you stay at?
Yeah,
that
if you
person's-
volunteer, or if you assign for the security, you stay up here the whole time. Or you check the parks, make sure nobody's out gallivanting around or whatever, but yeah, from 4 to midnight, you're here. Or, if the event's from 8 to midnight or whatever.
And the reason being, something could happen with alcohol, too. There'd be a fight or something, so we don't want to be gone, well, that way
I understand.
we can address that.
Having somebody on site.
Just having somebody on site to make sure everything goes okay. And our biggest problem is usually people don't get out on time. I believe they're supposed to be out by midnight, is that correct?
Supposed to be out by midnight, so it's keeping them on
It's
task.
keeping them on task too, because if you don't do that, they'll stay here till 3 in the morning.
Till the booze holds out.
well then, so we're funding this in advance.
No.
It's not a funding line
It's in the
item.
budget.
Okay,
It has
we're
to
just,
be
we're just showing it. When you actually get your budget reports, it will come in as revenue. There won't be anything there, it'll be zero there.
It'll be 0, 0.
For accounting purposes, we just have to show you it's gonna wash. We're not funding it.
And how much was taken in last year on these rentals?
1,800.
So you had nine.
We had
parties.
9.
Right, so
We
we
had
just,
9 events where we had security.
we're just
So I
assuming,
just put it in at 2,000.
just in case there's one more. If there wouldn't
It's
be,
an estimate.
it wouldn't come in, it wouldn't go out.
Well, it's a line item on the budget. Right?
I expect it.
So what does that mean? The 2,000 is segregated out just for this?
Yeah, so what it means is, in order for the township to pay security, it has to be in the budget, so they're just, it doesn't mean you have to pay it, it just means in order to be able to pay, you have $2,000 line item for rental security. So if a security bill comes in this case, let's say you have an event, then $200 will be paid out. Hypothetically, let's say you only have one event for the year, you have $200 or $2,000 budgeted for revenue to come in. The actual will show $200 in actual revenue coming in, and then $200 of actual expense going out for your security. Now, and I'm just raising the question, is 10, I mean, you only did 9 last year, is 10 really the right number? Could it be 12? And the only reason I'm saying that is because now the rental security is the value of your ability to pay those funds. So I don't want to see you capped at 10, because 10 would allow you only $200 or $2,000. So you could certainly, if there's an overage,
It
contingency.
doesn't get spent.
It doesn't get spent.
Right.
But, yeah, so all I'm saying is if the board wants to have, if you anticipate there's gonna be more than 10, then I would increase it to 24, 3,000, or whatever the number is of anticipated events. But if 10 is that number, then 2,000 would be the right number.
Debbie, what has been the history, say, the last 5 years?
I have no idea.
Well, it's never been,
The last 5 years, I have no
it's
idea.
never been a line item, so we don't have a history.
Well, we know.
We do have a history in our
We have a
records,
history in the records, for sure.
showing how many times it's run.
But it's never been split out.
Well, has it ever been more than 200?
Sure. You mean more
Yeah,
than
more than
10
10
events?
events.
You mean more than 10
2,000.
events? Yes. That can vary from year to year.
No, I mean, a single event, they pay $200
No.
because they're gonna have alcohol.
No.
it's never gonna be more than-
It's a flat rate.
Flat rate, that's what it is.
Yeah, I know it's flat, but what if it takes, you know, it all goes back to how much these guys are getting an hour to do it. Is it,
No,
is it
they're not,
possible?
it's a flat
It's a
fee.
flat fee.
I know it's a flat.
There's no
fee.
extra.
I know it's a flat fee, but is it, will it always be under $200 in the
It'll always
expense
be
to the
200,
township?
always 200.
Always 200.
That's what we charge, that's what they get paid.
So if they've got a 10-hour event,
It doesn't matter.
they're only these guys are only getting paid $10 an hour.
Correct. It's not $10 an hour.
It's a flat fee.
It's a flat fee.
Well, it would come out to $20 an hour if it was 10 hours.
Right.
And there are some that go that long, right?
Yes, sir.
So what if it went 15 hours?
Then they still only get 200. It's a,
Oh, so you guys are flat out too?
Yeah.
no,
it's flat.
it's
No
flat
matter how
out
much it is.
on both sides.
Both sides is flat out.
That's why it's an in and out.
For the most part, they start in the evening. Most of them usually start between 3 and 6 and go till midnight, so it's usually, you know, 6 to 8
Midnight's the
hours.
cutoff,
It's usually 6 to 8
unless
hours.
there's a wedding and they give them an extra hour, I think, or something to clean up.
And is this the basis of some new law that came in?
I have no idea. The accountant let me know that we can no longer do a net reimbursement.
No, what the accountants were trying to do, and the auditor suggested, is that they're trying to more accurately reflect the dollars that are coming into the township and the dollars that are going out to the township. The problem that they were having before was that when the township was using a net basis, meaning that the money came in, the money went out, you would not know how many events, like we right now don't know how many events you actually had and how much really went out to security for payment and how much you got in for security for payments. This way, it shows you in the revenue side what you took in from security and then what you paid out in security. So if at some point in time this board decides to change and have security rental at $250, then you would change your security expenses if you decide to pay that out to mirror those dollar amounts.
So where does the cleanup cost?
We don't clean up, they clean up. They're supposed to clean up and leave the building as they found it.
That's part of the rental
And that's
agreement.
it, that's in their security deposit, so if they don't, we take money back out of their security deposit for if our people have to clean up the next day.
And there is a built-in cleaning fee in the rental fee, and you have a service come in and clean after big events.
And what happens what happens if there's more than 10 events? Then you cancel the event or you cancel the security?
No.
You'd have to
We're able
amend
to
the
still
budget,
do it.
right?
You're still able to do it. The contingency would pick that up at the end of the day. And that's the only reason I'm just suggesting it.
Do you think it should be higher?
It can't hurt.
I see
There's
what you're
absolutely no
saying.
reason it can't hurt.
It's not gonna cost us.
It doesn't cost you anything.
Right. I didn't,
And it's not like you can spend that money anyways because
No.
you assigned it
right,
to
it's for specific.
security.
But if there's more, it comes out of contingency fund. Right?
Yeah, if I don't increase that dollar amount, which we could increase
We could increase it if you like.
to cover it for whatever, because it's a wash.
Do we
Doesn't
say,
affect anything really.
I'm not in favor of increasing it.
Let me ask you a question. If it does go over, say you do 2 more than the average, the next following year, you could
we'll
actually make
increase
that
it?
up.
Yes, we can.
So we're really protected. Contingency takes care
Yeah,
of everything.
you're right, it does.
And we can just increase it the next year.
Right, and we don't really expect, true statement. So if everybody's okay with it, let's move on now.
This is coming as a recommendation from the staff.
All right, so besides the rental security being listed as a revenue, okay, which washes, I understand. Were there ever any charges for cleanup last year?
For cleaning?
Yeah, when they didn't clean up like
No,
that.
when
That
yes,
comes
yes.
out of town hall rental.
But we don't pay for it, Steve, it's, they put a security deposit down, so we send them a letter back saying, we're taking $100 out of your security deposit to pay for cleanup because you didn't clean up. So again, that's a wash too.
So- But it doesn't show up as a separate thing, that's all I'm
It's
getting at.
not.
It's in,
Town hall rental.
No, it's in deposits. It's part of their deposit.
he's right though, it is in town hall.
No, it's not.
No?
No, that's a separate line item.
Okay.
So where does the revenue come out of?
Deposits.
Yeah, but there is no deposit line.
We don't have a deposit line item though.
It was,
No, I understand what
it's
you're
just,
saying.
it's the contrapositive of the security.
Correct.
They're both wash
I don't know
items
why we
that should be
don't show
accounted for.
No, I understand what you're saying.
We don't. I
We
know
don't, so
why.
we could add an item
I
in
never
there.
have.
We never had one. We could add one in there. What would we call that?
It would be deposit on facilities. That's what we've
Yeah,
used for
why don't,
years.
why don't we do that?
And have a counter
A counter line.
expense,
Right.
Okay.
counter revenue.
So, Steve, you're right. We'll put a deposit.
It's never been on here.
Well, no, I'm just trying to get the consistency.
You're correct. It should be there. Deposit security rental, is that what we want to call it? No, not security.
No, it's deposit on facilities.
There you go, okay. Deposit on facilities.
But then that would take this park rental thing in too.
When I do the deposits, it all goes in for whether it's the town hall, Whispering Hills, parks, rec center, whatever it is. It all goes into one line item, deposit on facilities.
I
The
realize
return
that.
deposits come out of that same line item.
I realize the amount of money is small.
It's very
It's
small.
very small.
It's an issue though, Steve.
No, but it's an issue of trying to figure out
What?
how much
That's a great point.
how much the parks are, how much the hall is, how much these buildings are
Okay.
individually.
No doubt about it, to be correct.
No, I don't disagree. I don't think anybody can disagree. We
So-
just never thought about it.
So you'd have a deposit on facility revenue line item, and then would you have a return on facility deposit expense item? And then, you could match them up as far as whatever that dollar amount is. But if at the end of the day, going to Steve's point, if we have to pay for, or if they have to pay for, facility charges, then it comes out of the expense piece. So,
See,
so
I would
they
have
only get so much of that money back, and then we pay out of that piece, the cleaning piece?
Right. I would consult with,
Let us consult with the accounts on this.
on how that should be done. Because the way it was set up with the accountant originally was to have that deposit line item. So just, I'm gonna look something up really quick, just to see what we did in this past year. Because it's a liability line item, it's not an expense line item. Alright, so I'm gonna go to the last page. Alright, so,
And then what happens if nobody wants to do it from Eric's side?
It's never
We
happened.
haven't.
It's
we
never
haven't
happened.
aired that issue.
Because then maybe there should be something added to the hall contract that if we can't get township people to do it, then they're gonna be on the hook to pay the direct cost of whatever it is. So in other words,
Guys,
just say that it's a bad weekend for you guys and you don't do it. And they have to get the cops in, the cost is $300, which is why you went to the cheaper. But then we'd be eating it, because there wouldn't be anything to hold.
we can add that to the contract if we cannot provide security or.
See, this is the problem of the governmental organ competing with the outside sellers of the same service or good.
The free enterprise.
Like when the library started to do the videos. Okay, I mean, they kind of hurt the video companies. Now we're renting a hall. There's got to be places to rent halls in the county. I mean, sorry, in the township that we're competing with.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Milto has just suggested we put it in the contract, he'll take care of it. And then if we did have to get other security, it would get pulled out of their deposit. Is that what you're saying?
So is it based on the size of the expected turnout, how much they get charged? Or is there a maximum or what?
It's 200, it's a flat rate, and it's based on whether they have alcohol or not.
And it's only this.
If there's
this-
no
they can't
alcohol,
have-
there's no security.
They can only use this room, they can't have that many people.
Yeah, the capacity, I think there's 200 tables and chairs, so that would be the max
Think the
capacity.
capacity.
Well, the capacity should really be the fire code capacity.
It's
It is.
220 is it, but we
the
only
fire
have,
code, but we only have 200 chairs.
Okay, and then what about Whispering Oak? People
Same
rent
thing.
that out.
80.
It's 80,
So is that in the contract?
Yes,
That you gotta be under,
yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
yes, it is.
Another question. We have a lot of baseball and skiing and things like that here at the facilities itself. When people use it and leave debris, pop cans, beer cans, whatever, is it anything covered for having to clean up?
Yes, because if they want the shelters, which we said are free now, right? You have to put a deposit down, so if it's not cleaned up, that pays for the cleanup.
Okay.
I think it's $50. And it does happen occasionally, but we do have to clean up, so that's why it's there. You know, some people just don't. Okay, so I guess we're gonna add those items and come back to that. Where are we at?
Security risk management.
Okay. Page 10, yeah.
He's on the new one. I'm on the old one.
So there's security risk management, which is what is our,
Alarm company,
oh, yeah,
cameras.
that's our alarm company, cameras, fire alarms, things like that.
And on uniforms, this is really just for shirts, right?
Up under uniform?
For the park department.
Parks, no, it's not for shirts, it's only, they get a small allowance if their jeans, we don't pay it out though, because they're doing like heavy work where they could rip their pants and et cetera, so
They get an allowance.
they get an allowance, period. And, but they have to explain that, Bill, do you know that, how that works?
each of us get a $250 allowance for like jeans or boots. And then,
That kind of stuff.
That's for the year?
That's for the year.
and then Terry usually provides us with the shirts, you know, the t-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff like that.
And it's a once a year thing. And we don't, they have to.
They don't do it every year.
Oh, they don't do it every year, okay.
And the reason why it's down from last year is because there's one less person. right?
Correct.
Well, and Jack used to get uniform service through,
Oh,
We're not
yeah.
we're
Yeah.
not using.
We used to have
uniforms.
uniforms, you know, what do they call those?
Syntax.
Syntax, they'd come and once a month or something, drop off work pants and things like that. We took that out. We said we're not gonna do that anymore, so we reduced that.
So where was that expense for Cintas before, in these
It's in
prior
uni-
budgets?
It was in uniforms.
Because that's what it was from.
That's what it was for.
Okay.
Okay, we're down to security risk management.
No, you have using subscription.
Oh, I'm now at dues and subscriptions, sorry. $250. We didn't actually have any last year, but this year, we do have two people we have to send to, one is Bill and one is, another, person to do, what do you call that? Weed, pesticide, licensing.
yeah,
It's gotta be
retest this
done
year.
every summer.
It has to be done every couple of years, I think, or something like that.
In the risk management, sorry to go back about, that includes insurance?
That's the alarm system, fire alarm and security alarm.
Okay, we're down to training, $300 That's part of the same thing there.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so the training, you just spoke about, that's.
I spoke about that, the dues and subscriptions. We didn't have any last year, but the year before we had 145, so that's why we put 250.
Well, what are the new subscriptions?
You can look them up.
No, I'm okay for cutting things, but when something just pops up, I'd just like to know what it is.
No, I understand.
Well, we can go forward.
Let's go
Going
forward.
well, I look
She
for
she can find out. It's not a big item. That's just totals, guys, on the very top on page 11 from the page before there, under contractuals. And so then we'll go to commodities. Commodities are operating supplies, which would be like cleaning supplies, etc. Garbage bags for the parks. Basically, that's what we do.
With included in this operating supplies,
Mm-hmm.
you say that we go to Sam's for these.
Not necessarily for everything, but we do go to Sam's if we can find it there cheaper, yes.
Okay, I know that it probably seems nitpicky to me, but if you have to send somebody that you're paying a certain amount per hour to go to Crystal Lake to pick up something, I find it just very difficult to believe that you can't get close to the same price.
It's been worked on.
It's been looked at and looked at and looked at. If we do send somebody, it's usually Terry, and he's salaried, so. And it's not like we're going there once a week or something. We might be going once a month.
Well,
Actually, it goes every 2 months.
Every 2 months, he only goes. So he stocks up, and he goes every 2 months. If we could find it somewhere else, we will do that, okay?
They do.
They look at everything. They look at everything they purchase to make sure it's the cheapest. Okay. Office supplies, that's just like, pen, paper, file folders, what else? Ink? Ink, yeah.
Well, why is it 100% more than was actually spent the year before?
No.
For operating supplies.
We spent 208.72 last year. Oh, are we looking at operating supplies, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
It's not 100% more. We spent 562.15.
Well, that was the,
Isn't that the correct column?
Right,
no, that's 2018-19.
right.
Yeah, that's what
This
we.
year he might not be done, he may not have gotten his ink yet either.
Oh, I
The
see what
ink
you're
for
saying.
the printers are expensive. They're over 100.
Right, so we're basing it basically on the year before.
Right.
And it could
And
be.
that may be able to be cut by the end of the year.
Yeah,
We
by the
don't
end of the
know.
year, we won't spend it if it, like you
It
can
doesn't
see
get
here,
spent.
we didn't, we normally don't spend it unless we.
And I will tell you that that is going down now that we have the new
Yes,
copier.
we got these,
So every department, it's been going down.
it's been going down, we got those copiers that you approved, and, I believe ink is included with that, is it not? Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. So therefore, it's reduced our costs a lot instead of us paying it, so, something we did last year.
Well, we still pay for the ink and the printer and the new copier.
Oh,
But
it's
everybody's using less because we're using,
the copier.
correct,
Yeah, we used to have individual printers, and they were, you know how expensive those
For
ink
the
cartridges
color.
are, so we got away from that. Okay, we're down to small tools. This year, he's only spent $724. He was just guesstimating that it could go up. So he's got 1,500. Wouldn't be spent unless he buys it.
Where do we stand as far as having some sort of a log of hand tools?
I'm glad you asked me that. They've set up some,
We've been working on organizing the shop over the winter.
they've been organizing the shop and putting shelves and stuff in.
And it's good for you too, because you know where to go.
Right, exactly. Right, it's gonna be in a set location, so if it's not there, we'll know.
We've
And
been
we're-
cleaning house, stuff that's been in there for 10, 15 years that hasn't moved and, stuff like that, so.
And then the plan is, we were talking about, there's a way to get a barcode to put on the handle or
That's
something.
nice.
And we're gonna look into that, so that way it'll give us a total inventory of everything.
Plus, if you can't find it,
We know it's
and
gone.
you've got the barcode.
We know it's gone. Right.
Craig, sooner or later I was gonna bring this up, but a number of times I've already heard, and from prior years, and certainly a couple of years on right now, when you say that, when we have a line item for so much, if we don't spend it, we're not gonna get, it's gonna be there. And I'm still very troubled from our last meeting, but we're still gonna find money within, the township here to continue the bus service after the board voted to get rid of it. And that's a concern, these little bits of things, where's that money gonna come from? Is it gonna come from these little things that aren't quite spent that you got in the budget?
No,
Yeah.
can't be.
Okay, well then where's it, when we're looking at this budget, where do we protect ourselves from the vote we took to make sure that doesn't come out of it?
I'll let Mr. McCall answer that question.
Your budget's your ability to spend, so if those funds have been set aside and put in the budget, then those funds cannot be used because they're set aside. So, I'm not really sure from the comment in the last meeting where that's intended. I'm not sure myself, but, all I know is from a budgeting standpoint, the board should, if they believe that they're gonna spend money, then you should make sure that you have those monies set aside in your budget, and that will also make sure that nobody else can use those as well.
Because I remember you last time saying it's in a budget, that we can't be spent, we're budgeting on it, but then the last comment comes out with the dynamite, well, wait a minute, we're still going to fund that, so that's a very concerning of mine, so before this budget is approved, that question will come up again.
I have to admit, Jim, I didn't understand your answer. Could you
Sure.
see if you can
Sure.
repeat it?
Kind of going back to my example earlier as far as the security and the security payment. Remember when I was talking about the $2,000 there? The budget and appropriation ordinance gives you the authority to spend those funds. So if this board feels that you're going to spend funds in whatever those specific line items they're gonna be, whether it's security or parks or whatever that is, you're gonna wanna make sure that you then budget for those items. What that does is two things. One, it first makes sure that it uses the funds that you have within the township as a whole. But number two, more importantly, it gives you the authority to spend those funds. So if that item is not budgeted and or you don't have the contingency for it, then you would have to amend your budget in order to provide for that ability to spend it. And as I pointed out, as far as the 2,000, I said, well, how many events did you have? They did 9 last year, 10. And as far as the recommendation was, if you go over that, okay, then we'll take that out of the contingency piece. So that's your budget and framework that you're working with.
Okay, I guess we get back to the vote that we took. The majority of this board voted to get rid of it and
Get rid of what?
the bus stop.
Okay.
Okay, and yet it continues today. What good does a vote do if the majority of the board is no?
Good question. What I understood took place was that the electors took funds that were not budgeted for and used those funds to be used for the continuation of the bus route.
And that's my point, but we gotta make sure to protect ourselves that there's not money in those budgets, that the same thing can happen, because that's what came out the last meeting. And I don't know exactly how to handle it, but we need to, before I'm ready to vote to sign off, I want that answer.
Makes sense to you?
Yeah, okay, let's move on here.
Thank you.
Ball field supplies, Bill, I'll let you address that.
We still got our spring order that we're gonna be putting in. Waiting on a bid on that. I got 3 bids out right now. Last year it was $5,800 for our spring order, fertilizer, turfus, field paint. So, we'll still have a big expense there. The rest is like, you know, different, Roundup, infield clay mix, black dirt. We did some sod work last year, stuff like that.
Mostly it's, what though? You just, the majority of it is,
On the ball field maintenance, majority of it is the fertilizer and turfus and stuff like
okay,
that.
and we put turfus on, because we don't put turfus on,
We
explain
put
that.
turfus on the clay, you know, to help dry it up quicker and, gives it a better playing surface.
Otherwise it gets harder to rock.
That's the infield?
Yeah,
Yeah, otherwise it gets harder to rock and, you know, could break a leg or something.
So is there anything put off last year that would account for it?
Yes, we haven't, our fertilizer order hasn't come in yet for this year.
So
It's,
it's a, when you buy the fertilizer, you buy it for 2 years?
No,
no, we've got for a year.
we usually do it in the spring, but because of where the budget falls with April 1st, we usually do it in March.
So that $8,000 number is gonna go up, Steve, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Is that a liquid?
No, it's granular.
And then this actual, this actual for 1920 year column, what is it, how recent is that? How current is that?
Oh, the column, that was through what?
That was end of January.
End of January. But you gotta realize you just can't divide it out by months. Some purchases come in big chunks.
When did I?
Bill, on the,
I can update those numbers after this next meeting.
Can you? Because we're gonna be in, it's like February 27th is the next budget meeting, right?
Yeah, we can have them updated for another month by then.
For the whole month of February?
Well, for
Won't be the whole
whatever,
month, yeah.
it won't be the whole month, but it'll be for the majority of
The
it.
majority.
I'll update the numbers.
Okay.
All right, so then we're
Bill.
down, I'm sorry.
you said, paint lining for lining on the baseball
For the
field.
soccer fields. And then, on the outfield lines, we usually, on fields 1 and 2, we always paint the foul lines in the grass.
Have you ever thought about doing chalk?
On the grass? You could, but it doesn't last. The paint lasts, and usually we can get 2 weeks out of the paint. Chalk is gone as soon as you get a rain. Chalk we use on the infields, on the clay part.
Yeah.
But in the actual grass, we use turf paint. Same with the soccer fields, you know, we paint the soccer fields, so.
I'll concede to your expertise.
Okay.
So the sports that we're renting for, are soccer, football, baseball,
And softball.
softball. Do they ever bring their own supplies and do stuff? Like mark off fields a different way that they want?
That's
Yeah,
it.
it's, especially
We're gonna work with
softball
you
when
on
they
that.
do their tournaments, they'll, cause they do like,
Bless you.
batting, you know, warm-up circles, they paint us, or do a circle around the pitcher's mound. If there's a tournament, we provide 2 bags of chalk for the tournament, and anything above that, they're on their own to provide.
And they pay for the tournament, so.
And they pay for the tournament.
Do either of the 2 high schools in the township, is Mchenry High School in the township?
Yes.
Yes, of them.
I think it is.
Yeah,
Do they ever use these fields?
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Johnsburg, pigtails, that's the
And their
softball.
track team works there.
Yeah, and
Cross
then
country.
And
Cross
their
country.
cross country.
Johnsburg and McKenna cross country both use our parks.
So the races are here,
Yeah,
and then there's chalk for that too, right?
no, they lay out their own,
Okay.
course when they do the cross-country events.
All right, are we through that category then, gentlemen? All right, we're gonna go down to direct funded services. Direct funded services.
Miscellaneous, and we moved NISRA from that.
Yeah, there's just miscellaneous there. And NISRA, that was at the last meeting you asked us to put under parks.
But how come we're up to $500 in miscellaneous?
You know, by the looks of the budget here, Bob, it's supposed to be lower than that. So let's make sure we for it.
I would say,
And
from
then
what I say here,
Let's see what's in it now.
unless you got something that you knows miscellaneous is coming, I don't.
Right.
That's what I'm gonna look right
Miscellaneous
now.
We're
should be,
looking.
it should be identified.
I understand.
So once she's in there, we can move on.
Yeah, sure, we can move on.
Yep. The only thing,
Unless you
we've
got
only
it.
had the $60 that's been spent so far, and that's Integrafill is in there, so I'm assuming that's when they do all the drug testing, that's the only thing that goes in there.
Okay,
So there may be some more random
There
drug
could be more
testing that will
random-
come out of the Parks Department.
yeah, that's.
I don't know that it'll exceed $500.
Yeah, it probably
It's probably
won't.
gonna be more like 3.
So I'd
It
be,
doesn't look like it's ever gone
Yeah.
over 255.
I'd be Bob, if you wanna make that 3, we could do that.
We
do
don't
that.
get into these governmental situations with the federal government or various federal departments where they're budgeted so much money for the year on various line items, and then they haven't spent it. But so then there's this madcap drive in the last,
We don't do that.
Couple
And
months.
You've seen it in our budgets previously, we don't do that.
We don't do that.
well, I mean, just look at the ground maintenance. I realize.
That's all done in the spring, that's
Right,
why.
right,
Right.
I know, but it's like, that's the kind of boost that we're talking about,
No.
where everything is spent
No, we don't.
just to get.
It doesn't make
oh,
sense for them to buy it in the winter
They don't do
or
it.
summer.
I asked that as a general thing for this entire budget. So that isn't the policy, at least
No.
of the
No,
township.
no, it is not the policy.
And as far as you know,
I
not
would-
of the assessor's office either.
Not to my knowledge, and I would not approve in the township anything like that going on. If we don't need it, we're not buying it.
Well, it's not illegal, it's just what,
We wouldn't.
Well, we're not.
but
not doing it if
but
we
when
don't.
we set the budget,
Right.
we know it's really being needed and used. And if it's like, well, look what happened last year.
Don't just do it because of always.
No,
What
don't
you
do
say.
it because you got the money and you want the money the next time, so
That's
you
what I
gotta
mean,
spend it.
exactly.
We don't do that. You can see by these numbers here that we don't do that. So. All right, so we're gonna lower that to 300. NISRA, we moved that, remember those were those reimbursements, and there's not, about 20 to 30 people supposedly. We talked about that last month.
Yes.
There's a
Last-
differential between what they have to pay.
Right, that's what it is. Okay, we're down to capital outlay. Okay, as you can see, we're cutting that significantly. And we'll get into that later down here. So, oh, wait, we're there. 2020, 21 capital outlay projects. Okay, town hall, and that shouldn't say bulletproof glass there, cross that out. What we're looking at, you can see that counter out there is wide open. Someone could just jump over it when we're done, okay? We're not gonna go bulletproof glass. Talk to the Johnsburg Police Department, and they're suggesting, you know how you go to offices where they have those windows that open and close? Like that, so that, like at the doctor's office, so it would impede somebody from jumping over the counter. Right now, there's nothing there to impede them from doing that. So that's what we're looking at.
Is that, when you've got it in the closed position, can that be locked?
Yes,
from the inside?
yes, it can be. It can be locked.
But this is the same thing we talked about last year, the prices
No,
going down.
that's why it should say vote for class, we
I
did
know,
talk about.
but I know a little bit more,
It's safety
okay.
glass.
Yeah.
But the question still came up from you last year, is that the threat possibility, you know, I haven't, to me, what it said last year is not that big of a concern to me, but go ahead, tell
Well,
me, tell me your concerns.
My concern is this, the assessor's office is here. And if somebody's probably gonna be upset, it's probably gonna be at them, let's face it. And, I'm not saying it would ever happen, I'm just trying to, there's nothing that stops, we don't have metal detectors, we don't have police here. We don't have any of that stuff. So we're just trying to make an impediment from somebody coming in and jumping over that counter, is all we're trying to do.
Well, say when you rent this hall for, what's to stop people from going back in there, jumping over?
There's a gate there's a metal gate that comes down during the, at night, that locks. So they can't get in there. So that's what that's for.
Well, another thought that comes to my mind is, we all know there's a question on the ballot for the township,
Question of the what?
a ballot question whether the township will be existing
Right.
here too.
Right.
And that's another question, when I see some of these figures here, should we be investing that when possibility the township won't be here? And
Well-
if that passes in the
If
positive.
that passes, we're out by June, so
Then it
June
doesn't matter.
21.
we wouldn't spend it anyway, so we wouldn't have it. Huh?
So why would we do that now? if
We're not
it's-
gonna do it now, we're just putting it in here in case maybe it isn't abolished, let's say.
Okay, so then that's another, some money coming in here. No, it almost makes me feel like to protect this bus situation, do we have to identify this money has to be, has to specify for each one of these items? I'm still concerned about how they can do again to get the bus running after the vote was to get rid of it. I'm very concerned about
I
that.
understand.
You have an elected board made a decision, and we have an opportunity with how this stupid township government is set up, where somebody can come out from the audience or the public and overrule elected board. That's a big concern of mine.
That's the township
I know that.
annual meeting rules, and I didn't make those.
I know you did, but as an elected official, for I was elected to do it, I'm here to express my viewpoint. I want
understand.
protection in that. So I don't know how to go about that.
One way to do it would be to cut the levy, so that all these excess funds couldn't be spent on these extraneous
But we don't
and
have,
board-ruled.
The other piece, the flip side is, by specifically budgeting these items, you've now allocated those funds for specific items.
And they can't be used for anything.
can't be used for anything else,
Well, they could be, if the board voted to do it.
Unless the board,
unless the board votes.
you would have to,
change it.
you would have to amend your budget if that's the case. Or, for example, front desk safety glass, the board decided to go with bulletproof glass or whatever, you know what I mean? You could, it's within that item that you would then, spend your funds. But by specifically putting a fund there, Bob, you've now allocated monies from the township for specific purposes.
But going back a few months ago, we amended the budget, and the buses are still running.
My understanding that those funds that were used or taken by the electors were not funds from any budget.
Okay.
So they came from where then?
They came from whatever reserve funds the town had.
Then the town has too much reserve.
Well,
Well, that would have, I would have agreed with this board 3 years ago or 2 years ago when you had lots of funds and surplus funds. Now as you're going through the budgeting process, you need to look at what total funds you have, what total funds you're then budgeting for your upcoming fiscal year. And it'd be very appropriate to budget for things, whether you're gonna dissolve or not dissolve. In the event that you don't dissolve, you have those funds to spend. By not budgeting for it, you're not using those funds.
And we can wait another year to deal with the issue.
Correct.
but I remember at a previous meeting, we budgeted money for the bus program because it doesn't go away until the end of March. I remember we set aside money for that.
We took, it's true, this board
Right.
took
Yeah,
it out.
no, we took it out. The last meeting, that was
We took
taken
it
out.
But the bus service is still, I mean, that's what we're
That's
paying
That's
for.
what, that's the
It still
question here.
exists.
That's the question was, okay? It came from the outside, not the board to put the bus back
No,
in.
no, I don't remember it that way. I remember,
It had to have been.
I remember when we voted for the bus, to eliminate the bus service, that we knew that it was gonna stay until the end of March, and we took out a certain amount of money that would go past March, and we allocated a certain amount of money to keep the bus service going until the end of March.
No, Stan
Am I
is
right?
thinking of
Yeah,
November.
You're absolutely, Stan, you're absolutely right, but that timeline was November.
Yes,
The
not
board-
March, it was
yeah, so
November.
the board made the decision in June or sometime around that
Correct.
to do, after the budgeting process, you budgeted a large sum of money you budgeted the yearly amount for the senior bus. June, around that date, the board decided we're gonna terminate the senior bus program. However, the date in which the termination was to the end of November. In that process, in that thought process was, we need to allocate whatever funds that it costs us to run the bus through November.
From the different contracts we have, whatever,
Correct.
that's
Through-
exactly right.
Through November, this board budgeted those funds. The board then subsequently said, after the November date, we don't want to have any more budgeted funds for the,
Duplicate
yeah,
service.
duplicate services, correct. And
And so it was the outside force that came in here from the special meeting that came in here and took $100,000 out of, what I'm hearing now, out of fund balance to keep those wheels rolling.
Yeah,
And that's
So
why
I
my
read-
whole point here is,
I read it the
the
wrong way,
board,
that I-
you didn't agree with the board, but the board made the decision, and I repeated myself, I'm concerned about that.
I thought the
guess-
decision was till March.
Yeah, but,
I must be
it's-
mistaken.
It's hard to keep it all
Well,
straight.
It had to do with the federal grants terminating at the end.
Right.
Correct.
And it was a suggestion from my attorney, we went, well, otherwise, we wouldn't have done that. They would have been all gone, okay? But this is, now we're still existing, okay? And it was a little bit of the tricky of how the township set itself, and it happened. But I don't want to see it happen again.
But I mean, isn't that the law? I mean,
Let's
That's
move
a
on.
law.
I
That's-
can't say anything about that really, so.
the law that the electors, if they get enough votes, can change the.
No, they cannot create new funds.
I'm not talking about funds, I'm talking about the law.
But Stan, then you are not doing your job as a board member to understand how your money is protected here for the taxpayers. You might disagree with it on a vote, but your job is still here to protect the taxpayers.
My job is to ask questions too.
Right?
So, you know, it's a learning
You
process
just did,
for
it's
me.
good, well, ask them, I'm just telling you.
Yeah, well, that's
But
what
as an
I'm doing.
elected board, they're here to protect how the money is spent for the taxpayers. Okay.
Well, that brings up where this money is in the various CDs or whatever, the investments, right?
It's on the balance sheet.
Yeah, those are the reserves. Well, it doesn't say
Yes,
exactly.
it does.
All
It says
there are-
Mchenry Savings, BMO Harris,
Okay,
Crystal Lake Max, whatever it is.
all right. So, for example, does the parks is a separate division of the township?
Nope.
Does it have
No.
a separate
No.
reserve fund?
Does
No.
not.
Does the assessor's office have a
No.
separate reserve fund where one of these goes to
No.
the assessor? No. So the entire township and everything under the township
Correct,
are in these various funds?
correct.
Okay. All right. Well, that's very important because now everything is up for grabs on these reserve funds. Maybe the board should think about putting so much aside just for parks. So that money can't be invaded for something non-park. Right? Would that be done, Mr. Motel?
This board can set funds aside, capital expenditures for buildings, improvements, things like that. It's within your discretion to set those budgets aside if you want to. And there would be capital expenses that could be used for the future. And that is one of the exceptions in the capital accumulation statute that says if you're going to reserve funds that can go beyond the 2.5 now rate, you could, for a building, for capital improvements, the things that are substantial, but then you'd have to identify it within the budget. So yeah, to answer your question, yes.
he sets.
We don't have any reserve hardly left, that's what the thing is. We're only gonna have, what, 2 months or something?
Well,
That you're gonna
again,
need
though,
for
we heard that we're gonna find somehow what we've got here, we've heard that somebody says, no, I'm gonna get the money out of you here.
Well,
So,
Have-
again, we're repeating ourselves.
they can only get it out if it's there, and I don't have the money, is what I'm telling you. Which is why the
Before we
levy.
sign off, we're gonna
That's
make
why
sure.
you, that's why
Before
you
we
set the
sign off,
levy
we'll see what
flat.
that is.
So there really is no money there, I'm trying to tell you.
So, going back to the budget, to me,
Let's go back to,
if we're still here next year, I guess I'd support that until,
okay, yeah,
so then
well,
I don't.
I won't spend it until we get the results.
Hmm?
I wouldn't spend it, if we end up getting it.
Well, then, let's
Well,
put it in a
but
lockbox now.
You can't put it
But
in
where's
a
that money
lockbox.
gonna
Doesn't-
go though?
doesn't
It's gonna
exist.
go,
Mr. Milton.
I wanna take it out.
No, that's the one he said.
What I'm saying is, if you want to keep your funds and allocate them to something specific by putting this capital expense in your budget, you've now allocated those funds. So my recommendation would be to leave the 55,000 in there instead of taking it out.
By leaving it in the budget, it's protecting you more, that's what he's trying to tell you. Because it can't be, the electors can't take that, that's in the budget.
Do we have a legal opinion of that in writing?
I can give you that, absolutely. And I'll give it to you in writing, but I'll also say it again. If you want to identify capital expenditures that can't be used for something else, you want to leave the budget.
And so then are we going to come back from the administration and say, well, with that being done, we need to change something else to get more money in the fund balance to kind of cover this? I don't know how to,
The question is.
it's just like we're kind of a shell game here somehow.
The question is you have a fund balance, and of whatever that fund balance is, you have monies that come into it as a result of a levy. So you have your fund balance, and you have levy dollars that come into it. The expense part of it is your budget and appropriation ordinance, where you've now said, we have these cost expenses that we anticipate for this fiscal year, 2020 to 21. We're taking that amount out of these funds. So you want to, if there's something that you want to do, or make sure that you have those monies set aside, then you put it in your budget and appropriation ordinance.
Isn't that exactly what we're doing here?
Yes, that's exactly what we're doing.
So that's what I'm trying to do. Is
Bob,
But then,
Bob, if you wanted to change it, if they wanted to take the other money out, they'd have to get your and our permission to do that.
Let me say it another way. If your concern is,
Right, yeah.
if your concern
So
is
what we're
that
arguing
I don't want people to invade our funds like last year.
from a special meeting.
I get it. If you don't want that to happen, then you make sure you have
Can I
your
break in
funds
for a
allocated
second?
in
We
your
got,
budget.
we got several conversations.
Yeah,
going
let
on
us
here.
stop here.
Let's just listen to
Does that
one
make sense?
Let's listen to Jim here.
You make sure you have it in your budget. If you want, if you have something that you want to make sure you have the funds set aside for, then you put it in your budget and appropriation.
But then also go back to the situation is why would I be sitting here representing the taxpayers with the thought I brought up that the township might be gone in June?
Again, another good point. If you're correct, no harm, no foul. You put it in the budget and appropriation ordinance, the funds are gonna go to the county anyways because they transfer. So it doesn't matter.
Then we'll come back, because then, okay, I got it, because the law says that the county would be in charge of that.
Exactly.
And so we would no longer, the county would be in charge of that.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And that would be 90 days after, so whatever that time period. So,
It's June 21.
correct. So then what happens then is that, on the flip side, is that if it's in operation and continues, the board sits there and says, well, that didn't work, so, we need chairs, we have it in the budget, we'll buy chairs in August. But at least it gives you that flexibility, and you've now taken those funds and allocated to with the things that the parks need.
So then, this gives a little, so then I guess my next thought, the question would be then, if we did approve that, it'd be in the budget, but then we wouldn't have to take action on that until when we decide to take the action, is that correct?
That's absolutely
correct.
correct. That's absolutely correct.
So we got our protection, we'll decide later if we want to change our mind about the vote, or not, I shouldn't say the vote, but the protection or whatever those items are.
That's
We'll
correct.
make a
That's correct.
decision later.
Right,
That's correct.
you're absolutely right.
Then I can understand, okay.
Okay,
Thank you for that.
Absolutely, and I'll, for Steve, I'll put that in right, I'll put a memo together, so that backs that up.
we just mentioned the bulletproof glass.
It's not gonna be
Don't
bulletproof.
use it, for- yeah.
Don't take that word out.
There's a little different situation on that.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you get prices on that?
No, we just estimated it, so if it wouldn't come to that, it wouldn't be spent, okay?
What was your estimate?
No, the estimate was 4,000, okay?
Okay, all right.
There's not a problem with that number.
Yeah.
If you- whether, you know,
Okay, I
it's-
just-
yeah, we have a but we have a protection on Mike, if you heard
Okay, all right.
exactly what you said.
Okay.
And you could say
All
right.
right.
Can we move down then?
Thank you for that explanation.
Okay. Commercial sink in the town hall kitchen here, the health, we only have 2 sinks in there. And the health department is, wanting us to have 3 sinks, that's the health department regulation, you know, when you have food and stuff.
Can I just maybe shorten this a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, what I just heard now, I'm not here to micromanage these numbers here, okay?
Correct.
I'm more concerned about what happened before, how to protect
Right.
my position of what the board had decided. So in other words, if all that is in there and we prove that, we will still make a decision on that, to do that.
Whether you
Right.
want to.
So we don't have to go over everyone and pick everyone, just kind of pick them.
No.
Because some of those numbers in a situation that, you know, if you just look at them, the line, they're not out of line.
Right.
It's the protection I was concerned about.
Right.
From that. So, anyway, so maybe, but Steve might want to question, but from my end, I'm not unhappy with those numbers. That'd be great. And maybe Steve's got something.
Well, when the sink was put in, it was
It
to
has-
code, right?
I'm sorry?
Everything was done according to the code.
Yeah, I don't know if the code's changed, Steve, or the health department is getting more, that's what they would like to see here.
Well, when was this done?
2000, I don't know, it was before that.
So did they actually give you a cease?
No, they did not, I mean,
They're making the suggestion.
They're making
that it
this
needs to be
suggestion.
done.
So what they really want is another rinse?
yeah, they want, how do you do it? What is it? One's,
Wash, rinse, sanitize.
yes, thank you, wash, rinse, sanitize, so we don't have that.
But we don't have any control anyway when these people rent it out, right? Of what they cook or do or clean or...
That's, I agree with you, but that's what the health department wants.
Well, do they have to get, if they want to use this hall for something with cooking,
No,
do they need to get a permit from the health department?
No,
too?
they're-
No, they have catering.
They have catering usually.
It's not a food
Caterers
prep
already
kitchen,
carry
it's
it.
a food warming
It's a
kitchen.
catering kitchen.
And that's in our contracts too, right? So we never get burnt on that.
No,
Correct.
That it's just a food.
Food prep. It's
Yeah,
not a
prep.
food
It's
prep
not-
kitchen, it's
Right.
only a warming
It's
kitchen.
only a catering
Yeah.
kitchen.
right. And their concern is, Steve, they told me, such as big items that, like, you know, those big coffee pots, et cetera, those are the townships, and they want to make sure they're decontaminated correctly. Okay, can we move down? We're done with parks then, I guess. Would you like me to bring Mary in here?
One thing that, before you get to that question, is that the last budget meeting, we were talking about if we could take out, maybe an opinion from the attorney about taking out the road commissioner's salary.
Oh,
benefits.
he has an answer for you.
There's two things that he was supposed to listen.
3 things, the mosquito and the insurance.
Yes.
No.
Right, three things.
You got-
Right.
I'll give you the easy one
Sorry.
first. I did reach out to the insurance company. I have not heard, and Steve would be like, see whether I can respond. But I have not heard back yet from the insurance company, but I did ask for an itemized on that, so.
Well, they're in a lot of trouble,
So,
which is why they won't do it.
so
No, they're doing it.
I'm asking for that written piece, and as soon as I get it, as far as the road district piece, the statute provides that the township fund, the town fund should pay for the highway commissioner's salary and benefits. The board and the highway commissioner can agree to use funds from the road and bridge fund and/or the permanent hard road fund up to 50% of that amount. So if the board and the highway commissioner did not agree to it, then 100% would come out of the town fund. If the two of you groups agree to it, then up to 50% of that can be paid from the highway commissioner's road bridge or permanent highway. So,
Because then there's another part of township, then we're kind of screwy, that
So-
we're taking the road district fund and we can put it in the town fund. But from my end of it, I'd rather,
so it's
You're not taking road
It's
district.
just wrong.
all you're doing is paying, what the statute says
All
is,
elected officials
is
love it.
the highway commissioner's salary and benefits are paid from the town fund.
well, I know, that's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
yeah, so
That's,
instead of saying paid from the road and bridge fund and paid from the permanent hard road, it's saying it from the town fund.
right, but see, I want to see it, so if somebody looks it up and see what those benefits are on a total basis. So the only way to do that would have to take the money out of the town fund, right?
You would, so it comes out of the town fund, correct?
So they'll have to come out of the town fund. So if somebody looks up and see what is the road commissioner's salary benefits are, that's where you have it. Now you gotta go to two different areas.
That-
right?
that's- You're right.
You can do it separate like you do with
And
the
I don't like
assessor.
that.
No,
And I don't like the township situation, again, in township government setup. Why shouldn't that be set up where it wouldn't be a choice for the town to do it? It's a separate government.
it's,
It's not a-
I mean,
You're right, you're absolutely right,
I've been fighting this for
unfortunately.
years.
But
You know, it's hard to
unfortunately,
make a
that's,
decision.
yeah, unfortunately, that's not the way that, in fact, the statute, I mean, it could have been written where it comes out of the road and bridge fund, and should the town and the road
Then-
decide to pay for it, then it comes out of
Flip
yours. But it's reversed.
Yeah.
But they reversed it.
Is this unique to McHenry Township? or-
No, this is,
No,
no,
it's
this is
across the
all,
No, this is
Who came up with this little scheme?
Well, the reason it probably is in smaller townships, the road district has little money to pay the road commissioner, so they take it out of the, would be my guess, I don't
But
know.
I'm gonna go back a little bit with Steve before too much. Steve made a great point before. A lot of things I get involved with, particularly with government, it's not the dollar amount, it's the, it's the question of keeping, is it right or wrong how you report things?
I understand.
And then these numbers can change no matter what, and one of the biggest, hardest problems to deal with townships, and you can deal with a little sliver like Burton Township and Thornton Township in the city, or, but that's, all these laws are set up there and make it so difficult to change things, and it's all there to confuse people. We can't do it without like. So anyhow, so as long as we're on that subject, I'll
so,
make a,
can I,
sure,
so my point is, my understanding is that the highway commissioner and the board still agrees to pay 50% out of the road and bridge fund. Is that, or is it out of the permanent highway? Is it out of road and bridge?
It's out of road and bridge.
On a road bridge.
I would encourage the board to continue to allow that to happen, otherwise it's gonna be 100% out of yours or some other amount. So I would still I'd still think that the board would want at least the max amount, which would be 50% to come out of the road and bridge.
but then if I make a motion and get support to do it, then that's gonna protect more money that we're running off someplace else too, right?
You mean in the road and
To
bridge
keep
fund?
it in here, yes.
No, I'm talking, no, if I made a motion, but if we do that, Jimmy, I respect what you're saying there, we're still not doing then we're splitting that up there when the public looks at it.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Bob. So
I'm
you're
concerned
saying,
about that.
so you're saying, let's just pay the whole thing?
Don't we do
Yes.
twice
And
nothing?
then we should reduce.
That's my feeling, is that we should be doing that, so if the public looks at the record, then where's the
But-
vote
but-
commission, huh?
Hold on.
I mean, look at the road district budget, it's 42.
But I believe it
But
shows-
it doesn't say anything about what the benefits are.
It shows up in their audit, I
Well, I
believe.
know, but if the public is not,
Well, it's also listed by all, I mean,
I know you can get that.
yeah,
Put it together.
it can be gotten, so I mean,
It's, the total compensation for each elected official is on the
It's
website,
on the
and it
website.
is not broken down. It is a total.
Yeah.
so
So it
it's
is
available.
out there.
I know, I've got it.
Okay. Can we get married for her?
Well, we haven't got through with the mosquitoes.
Oh,
I did get a copy of the bid package, and I got a copy of the email from Clark, looked at it, it provided for a 2-year extension. I did reach out to them, I know that,
I reached out to them too, and they said because they're not gonna hold us to it, so if you wanted to take it out, you could take it out.
So my motion is to take it out.
Okay.
If I put it
Second.
in the motion.
Okay, so you wanna take out the mosquitoes, wherever that is. We'll find it.
But of
For
course,
64,000.
well, it's like 64,000.
64,000, yes.
But of course, that frees up more money for
another reserve fund, right?
So,
I mean, money that can be spent in other areas.
no, it's gone. First of all, else is being spent.
Right.
Yeah, that's,
That's why the levy should have been cut.
Thanks for looking at it, Jim.
We had a motion, do we have a second?
Steve second.
we
We
did.
have a vote.
Okay, let's have a vote. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Ragstra?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Greer?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski, sorry. It was
Yes.
sticking in my head this morning. Okay, so that's all. All right, those are the three questions, right?
Well, yeah. Hey, Steve, and Mike, or Stan, are you guys, do you think it's good to keep the road district split up that way?
No, I do not.
But
You think
it
it should be-
doesn't make sense for the town to pay all the road.
Well, if,
It's still gonna show up in the town, not in the road district.
but why can't we come up with a different mechanism for paying it?
And
Why can't we?
because
That's
the law,
what I'm asking.
the law.
You could change the percentage of payment or contribution from the road district, but the statute says it shall be paid from the town fund. So you either pay 100% or some amount between 100% to 50%.
You have to do
With a
50%.
You have to do this law, I'm sorry.
How long has it been going on for the 50%?
Good question. In fact, I just looked that up. At least since 1998.
98, I think it's
There was an amendment in 1992, but there was some changes in 97 and 98. So somewhere around there.
Okay. So you were on the board then, right?
And when it happened, what year did you say?
It happened probably somewhere around 97, 98, possibly.
I might not have been on the board that time.
And I don't know, the township may not have put it into place until it went through the board and it was suggested to the auditors.
That could be,
Well,
Once that law changed, doesn't automatically
But it
happen right away.
requires the highway commissioner and the board to agree together. So if
Right.
this board does not agree to it, and/or the highway commissioner does not agree to it, then 100% of it comes out of the town
The
fund.
town.
and that's gonna be more confusing. People will,
Well, that's what township government is designed to be, non-transparent. So,
I'm not, I gotta still think about this one. I'm not satisfied with
well, that,
the way it is.
when was the statute enacted?
That's what I'm getting to. 1992. It looks like it was an amendment to the Public Act, effective January 1st, 1993. But I'm not sure if that was when.
I don't think we're doing it, Sean.
no, I don't know.
I don't think that Sean is.
I wonder if it's even constitutional. Because it violates every precept of funding.
Well, if it goes all the way to the town fund, then we actually lower his fund.
You're gonna lower his fund and give him more money.
Yeah, but the
Well,
problem is,
no,
he's a
we
So we
super
can change
taxing
that.
body
So we can
himself.
change that amount of money.
So
that he's
it's a bizarre
levying,
situation.
No, we already passed it.
No, in this board, unless it's something that
That's
is not, the highway commissioner provides a budget appropriation, I mean, if there's something in there that's, let's say he's trying to take trips to Vegas, then you can say, you don't need to take trips to
Disney
Vegas. It's not correct. But if he's got money set aside for maintaining the roads and doing all the things that he's supposed to be doing, then his position would be, those budgets and appropriation ordinances accurately reflect the things that we're doing within that budget.
And this board could amend their budget.
Well, you could, however, you're challenging a budget that he may be saying that's different. So if he presents a budget to you that he believes to be an accurate budget, this board unfortunately doesn't really, or shouldn't really change that budget because that budget's being presented, and unless it's something that's not considered to be for an effective road and bridge distribution.
Well, the supervisor said he had more money, we could amend the budget, take that out.
No, no.
The 64,000, if that was, if his salary's coming out of, or what, if they 42,000, if that's coming out of the town fund, that money was budgeted for his salary, right?
So
Why couldn't we amend that budget, take that out of it?
well, here's the flip on it, is that, if going into 2020, first of all, you're talking about this remaining fiscal year, okay, being able to do that. Right now, you're looking at the next fiscal year.
Correct.
Okay, so if you're looking at that next fiscal year, and then he comes to you and says, oh, I have a line item in here regarding salaries, it would be within your right then to challenge and say, we're paying 100% of the salaries, so you shouldn't have that in there.
So then we would challenge that at the levy?
No, you would challenge it at the initial budgeting process. So,
Or aren't we levying the money to him first before we challenge it?
well, no, because you need him to come, because what you're doing is you've already passed a budget appropriation ordinance that has allowed for the town to pay half and he pays half, and that's where it is. That ends as of effective March 31st. Pardon? March 31st. April 1st is your new fiscal year. So what you're working on is that budgeting process and payment of those items come April 1st. What that means, though, is that depending on what you're going to do, if you put in your budget appropriation ordinance 100% of the salary for the highway commissioner, okay, on your side of the ledger, then when he comes to the table, whenever you guys have him come, on his budget appropriation ordinance that he gives you, you're going to want to look to make sure that that's reduced to zero.
So he's coming here now, this year?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you
So
know,
that's what we're gonna bring it up?
yes.
Well, that's my
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know,
Yeah, so like, see how Mary's here regarding
Right.
her part?
Well,
So
that's what I wanted.
Yeah, absolutely, Bob.
Oh,
So,
I thought you threw me off.
I'm sorry, no,
You threw me
no.
off.
Yeah, so, right now, you're just working on your town fund piece.
I understand that part.
So,
Yes.
you still need to see the highway commissioner's
To
budget.
bring that issue up. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I
Yeah,
put you off a
so,
lot more than
no,
that.
no, that's fine,
Okay.
but it's a good question, because if you want to keep it the same, then you would have it where you budget half now and make sure that he's got his half budgeted. If you decide to, no, we don't want to go with it, we want to pay 100%, then you gotta make sure you got it all in your budget, but then you can then question him as to having.
So we're not approving the budget. We can wait after we talk to him about this issue. We don't have to make a decision right now. We can wait till that part of it, we're not approving any budgets, that this issue can still be brought up.
That's correct.
Thank you.
My question is, Bob, I don't see how that, I don't care, but I don't see how that solves your problem. It'll put all the money in the town fund.
I agree
I
with
don't know if it
Mr.
sounds.
It doesn't sound,
Why doesn't it sound-
it'll make the road district look less expenses, not more. And you're gonna create it, making it look cheaper than it is, so even Steve agrees with me on that one, so. Just something to think about.
Well,
Well,
it's
the
another issue that is so confusing.
The preposterousness of it all is that one taxing body is paying half of the salary of the chief executive of another taxing body, which from a accounting, any kind of accounting is like, what? Because they get a revenue base from something totally different, what they said. But now we're saddled with half, at least half, could be all, right?
Right?
So it violates every rule of transparency, common sense, logic, decency, taxpayer honesty to what's actually going on. It makes people run around, and then they can say, in these other townships, I'm not accusing anybody here, well, I'm only getting half X of my salary from the road district. Okay. And they're telling the truth. But what they're not saying is, oh, and the township is paying my other half. Well, but I don't have to tell you that.
But well, okay. Yeah, you're making a statement.
So, yeah, maybe that's a statute that should have been, it is unconstitutional. Because theoretically, he puts in this agreement with Mr. Adams to continue to have. Okay. But then after we would agree on the budget, he could say, no, I don't want to do that now. I want everything to come out of the township.
No, he can't do that once you agree upon a budget.
Well,
That's-
I mean.
Well, not once it's agreed upon.
I mean, once it's agreed upon, it's agreed upon, and so the highway commissioner and the board would say, we'd like 50% here and 50% here, we adopt the budget, and everybody's in agreement, you're done. That could change for the next fiscal year, where the board or the highway commissioner says, you know what, I'd just soon have it all come out of the town fund, and that could change.
So is there something in writing that you already, because you presented our budget with his salary in half. So do you have something in writing from him that he okays it?
It would be his tendering of a budget and appropriation ordinance, which we haven't seen yet, indicating that he is only taking half and he's asking the board to come up with the other.
So then we have to revisit everything based on what we get from him.
So
Yes.
this is
But-
left open until
It is
that
open.
decision has been made by the
Correct.
road commission.
Correct.
And then we can come back and approve
Well, we
it
don't have to, but we're going to.
after it's been amended.
Yeah, we do have to.
But I,
Is that right? Is what I
Yeah,
said right?
Wow. That's kind of bizarre.
okay, assessor's here, let's go to her budget. I'm trying to find the page.
Page 8.
KJ,
You need this one? Okay, I'm giving the floor to Mary. If you'd ask any questions about her budget.
Mary, do you need one of these?
No, the only change is in salary, and I had to let a field technician go and haven't replaced him at this point. So that's the only change. Everything else is the same as it was last year, as far as distribution and amounts requested.
When you say had to let someone go, what does that mean?
When you say what?
When you just said you had to let somebody go, a field agent, what does that mean?
I fired him. I didn't like what he was doing, and his work wasn't up to what I wanted, and so I let him go.
And then I asked Mary not to rehire that position. She agreed because you don't have the money.
Well, I would like to rehire someone. My intention was to rehire someone because I can use a third field person. But during appeal time, it's very difficult to do that, so.
Was that one of the two people that came to
Yes.
my house?
I don't know, I'd have to look at the file.
All right.
They go to a lot of files, a lot of houses, but
How many field agents do you have?
right now, 2.
Okay, so,
I had 3,
That's full-time, right?
3 full-time, correct. And would still like to have 3, but figure you're gonna take it out anyway, so I'll just leave it there.
whoa. Okay. You're supposed to come up with a budget, what you think you need, okay? Not theorizing what we would do. So don't put it on us, that this person.
It was at my request because we're running out of money, guys. With the levy below, we don't have much
Well,
reserve.
levy
fund.
wasn't reduced,
I'm sorry, but we were using reserve funds in past years to plug up, and we don't have those anymore.
because we were in violation at one time, right, Mr. Militello?
That's correct. That is correct.
So, you know. So, I would like Mary to give us her real budget, what she really wants.
Okay, let's go back.
Sure, I'd add 55,000 to the salaries, that would include all the insurance and HRA, all those benefits. That's the difference in what would be the cost of an additional staff person.
But that doesn't add up to what you actually had for the actual, or the 2018-19 budget carried over to 2019-20 actual. There's 55,000. That would be a raise for somebody to hire?
She's saying that that includes all the benefits also, if you add all of
Right,
that up.
right.
And those are broken out, Steve, down further.
Okay, so what is the expected actual to be at the end of this fiscal year? So there's 2 months short in the salaries here, right? That
The
we've been-
expected actual is 509,874 on salaries.
And that's including this person being cut.
Correct.
Right,
Correct.
that happened at the end of November, so it's been 2
She will
months.
probably come in under that because she did let somebody go in November. But she would like to add another person back in.
If she added 55,000 back in, it would still come lower than that.
But
Come
we-
to 501.
But you were prevented from hiring another person?
She's not,
Not prevented.
if you
She-
decide not
Again,
to.
in discussion about the levy and what kind of money we're looking at, that to make sure that I would
Be able to pay some.
not hire someone at this time. But could I use another person? Absolutely. That's the best position. But
Just one?
just one?
Yeah.
Just one.
So how many actual people? Full-time, you have 2 full-time, correct? Yeah.
Two full-time field people, correct.
And how many others are there? There may not be field people or may not be
I
full-time.
have 6 full-time people total right now. A year ago, I had 7 full-time.
But you could have rehired the field agent, right?
She
To
could
make
have,
up for the difference.
She could have, but she didn't, I don't know why she didn't.
No, there's just no time during appeal time for me to go through the process of hiring someone and determining who would be the best person for that job. It's just too chaotic to do that. And in the winter months, it's typically more inside work where they're catching up on drawings and things like that. Just not the best time to pick someone, so.
So the field people are not really needed for the actual appeals?
Oh, no, they are, but they are needed. They go out and have to look at properties that we haven't been at in 40 years. They have to do correct drawings. They revisit properties when there's questions from the hearings, when people want us to come out again, so they're definitely part of it.
So how is this differential made up? Did you have to work more or something? The loss of this field person since November, is it early November or late November?
Late November. What it does is cuts back on the amount of properties we can visit in a year's time for me to revalue. One extra person makes a big difference. So the work going forward will be delayed because of having a lack of bodies to actually visit these properties physically. But I'm not, hiring the right person is not a quick process, and I can't do it during appeal time when I'm responding to appeals and going to hearings at the county. Just not gonna happen, and in order to pick the right person, I need the time to do that. So, not gonna even, I wasn't planning on putting out an ad until January or February anyway.
But then it would have to be included in this budget anyway, if you plan on hiring somebody later.
Correct.
Right.
But, and that's,
Because of us not having a lot of funds, we were not going to, but if you would prefer that, if Mary really needs one, and that would be your decision.
But the recommendation was not to give her one.
So what do these other people do besides field inspection? When you say field inspection, that is all they did, correct? Including the one that got fired.
field inspections, they draw the sketches of the property. That's part of their job.
Okay. And so I take it that the other 3 full-time people or 4, right? That you still have in your, under you. What are they called and what do they do?
I have 2 deputy assessors. Again, all of this is the same as last year. 2 deputy assessors that.
No, it isn't the same.
It is
Now
the
you-
same.
now
Those
you've
other
reduced-
positions are all the same. The job descriptions are the same. I have 2 office staff that do handle permits and appeals, not appeals, permits and filing, and phones. I have 2 deputy assessors that assist in valuing the property and entering data.
So what is their title called?
What is what?
You have 2 deputy assessors, right?
Yes,
And what are the other 2 called?
office staff, secretarial. Again, same as last year.
The question I have is, there's a deadline for these filing, appeals, right? Now, is that gonna, by losing that employee, is that gonna impact, at least the deadlines?
No, what happens during appeal time is the field staff continues to visit properties and update property records, take pictures, draw their sketches. They continue to do that work. We're significantly behind on visiting every property in this township, so that is an ongoing process. The part that holds it up during the appeal time is my time, where I have to spend time and my deputies spend time responding to the appeals. And I physically attend the hearings in Woodstock, which takes me away from the office, so that in spending the time to find the right hire is just not possible during the appeal times. But the field staff has work to do every single day that continues on. It's just
My actual question is that gonna impact your deadlines?
No, that would not impact the deadline. That comes to us from the county anyway, so.
Did the township have, was this covered under the one that was fired? Was that for cause?
Yes,
So I take it there was no unemployment compensation,
not that I'm aware of.
but you would be aware of it, right? It would have to come to you, right?
They would
No, it
notify
comes
us.
to the human resource, it goes to the
I don't believe
supervisor.
we've been notified.
I don't think so.
No cost of living increase for the salaries?
2% is what was in there for the 6 people. You know, so there is a 2%.
And that's reflected in here.
That's in there, correct.
Otherwise, gentlemen, she hasn't changed any numbers. They're all the same.
Well, you know, see, again, we're kind of stymied because we don't, and I'm not saying this is a defect, it's just impossible for us to figure out. For example, the overtime. Does this overtime all get shoved into March or February, so it's not on here for the actual expense?
There shouldn't be any more overtime at this point. Overtime was used during, and again,
appeals
typically
as
just
well.
during appeal time when I have to have, as Stan was pointing out, deadlines for certain things to be done, and that's only my 2 deputy assessors.
So why is
There
it?
was minimal.
Yeah,
There was
so-
minimum.
You only had $129 in overtime
Right,
this year.
it was one day
Based
that I
on
had to have them.
$4,000.
Yeah.
And the year before, you had 2,500.
Okay, so how do you explain it? The differential between the 2 years' actual spent on overtime? So we can understand your 4,000 profit figure.
The year before, Mary, you spent 2,500.
The year before, we had more appeals, we had tighter deadlines, had to have more things,
I thought we had more appeals this year.
we have fewer appeals this year.
What percentage?
I had 617 appeals this year, I had 800 something last year.
Okay, so is that why there was so much overtime for 2018-19?
The overtime, yes, there would have been, as has been referred to, deadlines to have the appeals responded to. Some just take longer than others, and when we have to get it done, we have to get it done, and there was more time needed last year.
All right.
I don't do overtime if I don't need to.
Right, obviously, from what's going on this year, it remains the same.
But next year, we don't know what's gonna happen next year.
Hey, Steve,
That's why she kept it
can you
the same.
hold off these questions? Because our clerk has a doctor's appointment, and he wants to get it by 11 o'clock. We still got public comment, so we just say those questions.
Yes, of course, and I didn't know about this,
Yeah.
okay?
But he told me earlier,
Yeah, fine.
and the supervisor knows that, so.
Before-
We still have to set the next meeting too.
Okay,
so-
but before we do that,
Yeah.
can you quickly look at the rest of Mary's budget? Are there any questions so that she can be provided?
Stevens has got some questions.
I mean, no, not the top part. You're looking at the rest. Is there any that you would have that she could prepare for without us taking forever? Yes.
All right, well, I'd like to know how you arrived at the 4,000 figure for next year, or the
She
next.
just
I
kept
just
it
kept
the
everything
same.
the same.
She kept it the same.
And again,
What do you
I
mean?
don't know
It was the
what I'm
same as-
gonna.
It was the same as last year.
Yeah, okay, but we realize that she has less appeals now.
Every year will be different.
You never know.
There could be 1,000 appeals next year.
Look, I don't want to eat into your
Okay,
time, so
let's-
why don't we just break it off?
Okay, fine.
Great, I'll go back to work.
All right. Is there any public comment? Yes. Just give your name.
If this goes over the time, can Debbie be the deputy clerk?
It's only 3 minutes.
It's
You
only-
got 20 minutes yet.
Yeah, but he's already in Dutch. He has to travel there, the appointment's went.
Well,
If I leave by
he
11.
said if it leaves by 11, no,
By
that's why it's no.
Okay.
By 11, we're good, Steve, that's why I said if we could go now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, Jamie Mchenry. You just set the timer, I might need all 3 minutes. Just a couple of comments today. Mr. Vera, I really wish you would stop cherry picking the minutes and focusing on some things that you think are really critical and forget about the other ones, because there were 2 sets of comments. You were the one that said them, and if the person who said them is okay with how they're worded, you should not be like going into them so much. I should complain. Dan spells my name wrong every time that he does these minutes. So that's something you could get him on, you know, you didn't mention that at all though, or anything else. You didn't talk about how I was perceived or portrayed within my comments either. So you have to understand that you have to be consistent. I'm all about consistency. So you either let it all go or be a dog with a bone on everything. As opposed to, and also I want to talk about the bus service, Mr. Anderson. That bus service was voted in by the electors in 1999, not by the board. The electors wanted that bus service. The job of the board is as auditors for the township, making sure that things are ethical, that things are being done according to the law and according to the budget, which is fine. It does not say that you get to remove services. So when you sit there and act like we are doing something totally horrible to you as the elected board, think of it the other way. You're doing something totally horrible to us. This is our township, our right to say what services we want. Forgot where I'm at. Oh, again, elected officials to represent us, not the little microcosm of people that you talk to that think that the bus service is redundant or anything like that. There's a lot of people here that want it, and there's going to be a majority of people that want it. And you should be representing the people that elected you to that position, including people that voted for you that want to keep the bus service. So all of this like finagling for it, everything like that makes you look like you are overstepping your boundaries and it's abuse of power. And I just want to get a clarification too when the next budget meeting is, because I heard the 27th thrown out.
We're going to set up a date, right? I
Okay.
believe that will be the next one.
That's all I have to say, gentlemen.
We're going to set up, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Oh, this is just last.
Please, state your name.
Sure. John, Mchenry Township. I'd like to remind everybody that you're not representing just the people that voted for you, that your base. You're representing everybody who lives in Mchenry Township. And if those people want a bus service, and if those people want a township, you're going to operate as such. That's all I got to say. Just remember that.
Okay. Are we done with public comment?
And you can paraphrase me anytime you want.
Okay.
I have one thing.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You guys had asked about the dues and subscriptions on the parks and facility. That was for the University of Illinois for licensing for their pesticide applications. And it does not have to be done every year.
It's every couple of years or
So
something.
that's
Then that should go on training then,
It could go into training. I
because
think.
it's not dues and it's not subscription.
All right, we'll move on to training. Is that okay, Dan?
Yeah, I can do
Okay,
that.
we'll do that. All right, let's set up, go ahead, Mike.
Can we have comments? Can the board have comments?
It's not on the agenda, sorry.
Well, he's a member of the public.
Oh, yeah, you can have a comment as a member of the public.
Well, there's a couple questions that I have of you, Craig.
Mhm.
And is it possible to put closed session into the next levy meeting so that we can discuss salaries?
Yeah, I guess it would be. Is that right, Joe?
You mean budget meeting?
In the budget meeting, yeah, not the regular monthly meeting.
For a specific individual, yes. In generality, no.
Well, and I'm not sure I should even say this because you asked in confidence. I asked you a question and you said, I can't tell you in open session why. And my question was, can we go into closed session so you can discuss?
If you want to ask me a personal question yourself,
Yeah.
we can do that right now, after the meeting. All right, let's set the time for the next meeting. We're closed next week, so we want to go to the twenty-fourth would be the next Monday, where we're open. And that'd be, we're almost through this, guys, it looks like.
So we have
Well,
what's less of the assessor's budget and then the road.
Then you move to the road commissioner, and then we're done. Is everybody in agreement with that? Okay.
9 o'clock? Is that what we're going to, 9 o'clock?
9 a.m. is fine.
20, was it?
On the 24th.
24.
So I make a motion, we have our next meeting on the 24th at 9 a.m. We have a second to that
Second.
motion? Second by Mike. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None being heard. Okay, I'm gonna call, because our clerk has to leave for a doctor's appointment. I'm gonna call for an adjournment.
I'll make that motion and adjourn.
Okay?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And Mike, you can come over here, you can answer.
Report to the inside.
Or just before you adjourn.
They, we have to. So the doctor's never
Good, Jim. How's the day?
Needs to be discussed.
How do you do the agenda?
Who does it?
The supervisor does the agenda. Why are you here? I'm not the supervisor.
You're his deputy.
Craig?
You're his deputy.
Adams is the supervisor, you're a trustee.
By the way, the clerk does take the agenda item. Right?
The clerk does not set the agenda.
I didn't say set it. I said post it.
Yes, he
Here,
posts
Craig.
it. Would you like something added to the agenda?
For the meeting, for the township meeting on.
I don't believe they can give their street number, can they, Mr. Rand?
Of course they
No.
can.
No, I don't think they can.
No, they cannot.
They can give their name and their town, they don't have to
Name and town.
they don't have to give their street.
Why?
because they don't have to.
It's a privacy.
We have to know, if they say Mchenry, we don't know if they're a constituent or not.
It doesn't matter.
Well, you could actually have someone, they could actually not say who it's from. I mean, there's an attorney general letter out there that talks about it. But, let me get it for you. As far as the street number, yeah, that's a problem.
But they are supposed to give their
Where's
name
Dan
to
at?
town. You ask them to do that normally.
And they don't.
Okay, I'll make sure I ask them, okay?
We always have neighbors.
I just don't want it to be flooded with outsiders
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
masquerading as people that use the township bus service. Because I found out that several don't even live in the township. So I don't know how they're getting it when they say they are.
I think it says, I think it was what?
John,
Anyway, I don't think
can you give this to Dan?
yeah, it's left, I think it's, yeah, it's by the, I think it's his pen. But I don't know if he's left there or not.
Right, Deb, 1999?
Pardon me?
1999, right?
1999 was a good year. This is top off.
Wait, what? That is what happened.
Yep.
All right, I got to turn off now. Okay, never mind. Is the camera off yet so I can swear? No, the camera's still on, this is the mic. Damn it. Oh, wait, this is swear.
I should swear.
Hmm?
I should swear.
So then a couple less mice in our house. How you doing? I'm good. How are you? Doing fine.
We found 2 mousers yesterday.
Two what?
We
We added
got-
2 cats to our house.
That's,
We'll send you a picture.
They're on a trial basis though, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
The
assuming
dogs,
that can't be good.
well, Arlene's at the gate. We have a gate in front of the door so the dogs can get it. And, Arlene's just at that gate. And she wants to get in, and Lizzie's like, "Camera's so high."
You guys come up here, I could probably handle it